7 degrees. It's almost May. And look at the weather. Awful.
Cold.
Right, today we got a test, another test happening. So Simon, who's supposed to have had his car tuned at the same time as Luke, who did the Mina gallery intake video with me. Simon was supposed to have been on the same day as him, but he decided to have his timing chains replaced first, which is a big job. It's like, wow, massive job. So he's got his car back on Friday last week, and he's already booked into Viezu to have his tune today. So I've taken the morning off work, and so is Helen. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're going to go meet Simon up at Viezu because we need to video this, because we're going to be testing what performs better, either cones or K&N panel filters in the standard setup. I've also got some paper filters in my boot just in case we're able to test those as well in comparison to the K&N. So it's going to be really interesting. We know what websites do figures and say, oh, these are better than others and all that, and everyone's got their own opinions, but let's get it on the dyno and do some real tests and comparisons between them all and see what we get. Right, see you in a bit. Just had a thought. Before you go any further watching this video, press pause, comment on which air filter you think would have the highest brake horsepower on the dyno, and then we'll see what the results are after. But it's going to be interesting, right? Yeah, let's do that. Do it now. Press pause.
Right now!
Vote.
We have arrived again. I feel like we've been here a lot lately.
Starting to get to know the names of the staff is really strange.
Yeah, we are.
It's because they're nice people as well, though.
They are.
There it is. Look what we got. So this is Simon. I was speaking about him earlier on. This is Simon's car. He's getting his car mapped by Viezu today. We're going to do some tests. So these guys have been great. They're just as eager to find out what these things do as we are, and everyone on the forum are as well, I guess.
Yeah, be interested.
So how long have you had your car, Simon?
I bought it in October last year. Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you had the ram air?
They've probably been on for a couple of months now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So if you come in, babe, we'll look at these as well. So Simon's got the ram air foam filter in there, in the bases of the original box, which I think is a good thing, because these is a cold air feed coming in through there, supplying the bottom of that box with cold air. A lot of people don't bother doing that, and they've just got the air that's in the engine bay, which is obviously hotter. I know you're going to get some air coming in through the top, which is hot, but at least you've got some coming in from the
The way
bottom.
I look at it, when you've got the actual airflow travelling through anyway, you've got airflow coming through the whole engine bay.
Yeah, it just may go that way. These are tucked behind everything. I don't know how much you'll get in there, unless with that. So it'll be interesting to see. So once you get these fans on, we might be able to put our hands in and see how much is coming up through. But yeah, so this test is going to do it the way it is there with the fans. So it's not going to be 100% road pressure air.
Yeah.
But what Luke's, sorry, Luke, Simon's mate. So Simon should have been here the same day Luke was, but Simon was having his change done first. So it's nice to know it's all been done. So Simon's bought K&Ns, which is what I've got in my car, which what you had in there first, right?
Yeah.
And these are the filters that I had in my car before I changed over to K&Ns. But I didn't know if there was a difference or not. It's all about in the head, right? So now we're going to dyno these three setups to see what difference they make. It's going to be really interesting. But have you seen the size difference of these? So these have got a lot more surface area on them, where these have just got bigger holes. Obviously this has got a bigger surface area than this you'd expect in this phone, but it's going to be an interesting one.
It is going to be interesting, yes. Might be another little myth buster.
Yeah.
People like
Mythbusters are us,
Mythbusters.
right? No, but this is going to answer some questions for everybody, so it's going to be really good. Right, on to the final Dyno run. So what you got? 598.
598 and 590 foot-pound of torque.
So new meters, 590.
It still flattens out, but it's obviously higher
Yeah.
flattening out. And then the horsepower goes up.
So 580 with the bonnet down.
That's 18 horsepower down.
18 horsepower down
Yeah.
with the bonnet down.
But it'll be interesting to try. Just for experimental sake.
And you got everything you need to
Yeah.
pop them on, right?
Yeah.
Alright, just change that as filters. We've gone for the original boxes, but with the paper filters first. One thing I see quite a lot when people have got the cones in, because they think they're not using the boxes, they remove these. Now this is a cold air feed that comes through there, up and feeds into the bottom of the box. If you remove that, that means you've lost any of that cold air coming in there. Here's a result that may shock a few people. The standard paper filters actually gained more horsepower than the cones. So we actually got 606.96 brake horsepower, which is astonishing. But we ran into some issues. So a bit of background info. When Simon had his chains replaced, he also had his supercharger taken off and sent to Powerhouse for a rebuild. So this work was done by another garage closer to Simon, and then he come to Viezu for a tune. So after this run, James at Viezu heard a knocking noise that shouldn't have been there in the supercharger, and he recommended not doing any more testing and cutting it there and removing the supercharger and sending it back to Powerhouse for investigation, because it looked like maybe one of the bearings weren't changed or something, don't know, but it just knocked and it wasn't right, so it needed to go back. And unfortunately that took a couple of weeks to happen, and when it got fitted back onto the car by Viezu, neither of us were there to do any further testing, so unfortunately we had to stop the testing where we are. But it's still interesting. The paper filter is better performing than a cone. So, and when you got a bonnet shut, it's even worse. So yeah, I'd stick to the standard paper filters for us for now, unless we test the K&N filters in the future. But yeah, very shocking. So let's see what you voted for in the comments, and yeah, and take a listen to this, guys.
Hello. My name's Simon, and Shane has asked me to put a little video together just regarding the experience I had with Viezu and tuning my XFR. So the plan was, I met Shane up there about a couple of months ago now. The plan was we were going to do some back-to-back testing with the cone filters that I had fitted to the car, and then we were going to swap to standard airboxes and see if there was any sort of major power differences. So that was all well and good, but very early on when I got up there, unfortunately, my supercharger failed on the dyno. It's nothing to do with Viezu. A month or two prior to that, I'd had some engine work done by somebody else, and while the supercharger was off, I opted to send it away for a rebuild just as preventative maintenance. I thought while it's off, it'd be a good idea to have it rebuilt so it's all fresh. And yeah, that freshly rebuilt supercharger decided to let go on the dyno. There's no major failure, but horrible bearing noise. Viezu shut down straight away and just said, look, this is not worth carrying on. And immediately a wave of dread came over me, but Viezu just stepped straight in, asked me some questions, found out who had done the rebuild. It's a company they deal with or have dealt with themselves, and they just took the reins and sorted everything out for me. They dealt with a third party, they removed the supercharger, sent it away, it came back freshly rebuilt again, refitted it, billed all of their labour back to the third party, so it hasn't cost me a penny. Basically took all the stress out of it, which was much appreciated. We didn't get to do any of the back-to-back testing, unfortunately, on the cones. But what we do know is before the supercharger failed, there was a couple of runs done. So with the cone filters on, it made with the cone filters on and the bonnet closed, we made 583 horsepower. But then we happened to do another run with the bonnet up. So there was a lot of excess air coming into the engine bay from the fans, and the power jumped without any mapping or anything like that. The power jumped from 583 horsepower to 598 horsepower. So that to me shows a massive difference in airflow, what airflow can do to power figures. Obviously you don't drive around with your bonnet up, so we've got to disregard that 598 horsepower figure, but it did just sort of spike with me that actually closed air boxes drawing proper cold air from outside the engine bay has got to be the most efficient way to go. But that's what I've opted to do, so we have gone back now to standard air boxes. I've got K&M panel filters in there, and that's got to be the optimum setup. We already know from one of Shane's previous videos that the Mina gallery is not really worth fitting. Looks nice, but appears to lose quite a bit of power. So yeah, with Viezu's map now, I have jumped from 583 horsepower and 590 foot-pounds of torque right up to 607 horsepower and 625 or 35 foot-pounds of torque. Can't quite remember. But Shane's got my a PDF file of my dyno printout, which I'm sure he's going to add into the video, so you'll be able to see it for yourself. But it's made a huge difference to the drive of the car. On paper, not a huge gain, but real world driving, absolutely, yeah, it's so much better. It's so smooth, a lot more powerful, but I could only imagine going from a standard car to over 600 horsepower and over 600 foot-pound of torque. It's just going to blow your mind. So yeah, for one, I would definitely recommend Viezu. Wouldn't have any hesitation to going back to them, or if I get another car, take that up there. But can't see this going anywhere anytime soon. I'm sat in the car because it's really, really windy outside and I didn't want the wind noise. But yeah, definitely recommend Viezu. I'll just jump out. So yeah, my baby, love it. Made a hell of a difference. Go for it.
That was so lucky for Simon then. Imagine if he wasn't at Viezu and that Supercharger just started getting bad. It'd be a host of issues. So yeah, it's good that Viezu were there to help support him and give him a good result at the end of it. And looking at his map, obviously I'll put the map on the screen now so we can all have a closer look. The red line was the previous map that Simon had on the car. I don't know what company did that. I know he's got the dyno sheet somewhere, but I haven't asked him what the company was. And the green one is the Viezu map, you know, with the best filter on it. You see the green line coming up to the right. There's a bit of additional horsepower all the way up. But the interesting thing is the torque curve, which is the big humps in the middle of there. The red one, obviously, again, being the original remapped version. And the green one is the Viezu map. And you can see at 2,500 RPMs, there's like a 65 foot-pound torque increase. And that's where I think Simon is seeing that gain on everyday driving, and that massive torque increase with a bit of extra horsepower as well. And that's the thing, it's the drivability of these cars. It's not just the maximum brake horsepower that you achieve, is where the power is all the way through the rev range. And you see that Viezu map is far superior. So I'm glad he's happy with it. That's awesome. And yeah, I guess the only other thing we haven't done obviously is the K&N filters, and hopefully we can do that in the future, just to see what is better, the K&N or the standard paper, because I know Luke had the standard paper filters in his car and achieved the same figure, well, 607 brake horsepower. So seems to be the way to go at the moment. But let's do some further testing in the future. But the one thing we do lose, obviously, with the cones, you get the Supercharger whine that everybody seems to like. But with the panel filters, you don't seem to get that as much. So it depends on what you're after, guys. Do you want the whine or do you want the power? Yeah, it's personal preference. But for this set of tests, it's all about the horsepower. That's what we're looking at. So, right, on to the next video. Coming soon, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Bye.